And then she kind of goes into a whole lot of other stuff that I was like, okay, it kind of triggered me a little bit. But the foundation of today's stream is based on what she talked about earlier today, is that men are different today. Um, and here's the thing, she's absolutely right. Um, there is a stark difference between the kind of men that are out here now and the kind of men that she was interacting with in her generation, and they're still around. There's a stark difference between the two sets of men. I cannot deny that. But there's a reason for that. And so I'm going to kind of try to walk through that a little bit, but before I do that, let me go and talk about something else a little bit. And I'll get there. So kind of go on this journey with me a little bit. I'll get you there. We're going to be kind of quick about it tonight, but the United States has a long-standing policy that it doesn't negotiate with terrorists, you know, and there are several reasons for that. It's dangerous to set the precedent. Negotiating with the terrorist sends the wrong message. It sends the message that the United States is willing to compromise to those who want to try to impose their will through violence. The United States does not want to reward bad behavior. It undermines the rule of law that the United States claims that it's all about. And then the United States feels like it puts its citizens at risk for negotiating with terrorists. I don't know. They said that if they negotiated with terrorists, it might embolden more terrorist attacks, more kidnappings, and it might just, because the United States is conceding and acquiescing to those kind of demands. So here's what I'm getting to. When our Black women, or any woman for that matter, takes the position, it's my way or the highway, are they essentially making a terroristic threat? And for me, that's a rhetorical question, because of course it is. But not in the traditional sense that you're thinking about when you think about terrorism. For our women, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, and I know, here we go again with them data-driven, them numbers, them statistics, and I've heard it all over the last several months. Where are you getting them numbers from? We don't trust them. They're putting out stuff to keep us down. I mean, I've heard it all. But the United States, the U.S. Census Bureau stated that for Black women currently in the United States, and this data goes back to 2019, that only 27% of Black women are married, which leaves 73% of our women not married. And one question I have is, are our women holding our family hostage by taking an all or nothing approach? Now, I know that question is a little provocative and maybe a little misleading. And it also assumes the statement or question also assumes that our women are in an open rebellion against marriage in general. And truth be told, I think I can actually make an argument for that. But however, I think the reason our women say the reason our women have adopted this "my way is the highway" position is because one of the reasons is because our women are completely allergic to the notion of having to settle. Nearly on a universal level, our women reject the notion that settling is even an option. With the volume of Black women unmarried, and effectively without the thing that historically was tied to a woman's value, which we're talking about is her family, how is settling not an option? Hold that thought for a minute. Black women collectively, and I'm not speaking like on an individual level. And yes, I do know that I'm being very general right now, but Black women have this attitude or have this perception that there are not enough serious and qualified Black men who want to be husbands. Our women constantly ring the bell that there are not enough marriage-minded men who are able or capable of leading them, let alone managing the responsibilities of an entire family. And despite blackdemographics.com, the CDC, the Census Bureau, despite them stating that 52 to 54% of Black men are single, childless, earn enough money to be considered middle class, our women seem to can't find viable men to make families with. So from time to time, I plead for grace and mercy. And I got a little bit of a message to our women, and I'm here to tell you, and I'm here to be a little bit honest right now. There are aspects of Black men that are not fully fit to be the heads of family and not fit to lead you. Now, I know that might seem like a bit of a relief, or some of y'all might have cracked a little bit of a smile about that, just because I acknowledge that little piece. But what you need to understand is that Black men don't really consciously know that or understand it or even aware of it. And the majority of the reasons is it has nothing to do with Black men failing at being good men. You know, our Black women, you have a sea of good, kind, serious, dedicated, loyal, competitive, competent men, but they're hard to recognize. And in general, and I know I'm being very general in my statement, there are two reasons for that. One, those men that are those things, our women are not attracted to them. And two, the overwhelming majority of Black men born between 1975 and 2000 have way too much female software. Now that's, you know, that's something. While these, while these fellas look like men, they often to a woman don't necessarily feel like men to them. And I'm not talking about like it in the gay kind of way. I'm just, I don't know if those of you who remember, you can put just put a one in the chat if you remember. Do you guys know who Judge Lynn Toller is? Do you guys know who Judge? I think that's her name, Judge Lynn Toller. She was like, she took over from Judge Maybelline from the divorce court. Anyways, her husband recently passed away, and she was on an interview talking about an incident with her husband, and that incident was she had something happen at her job, and it kind of sent her into a tailspin. So she called him and told him that, listen, I'm not doing well. And he's like, okay, baby, I'll be home. And then so he shows up at home, and she goes on a 20-30 minute rant about what was going on. She was screaming and crying, and she made the statement that he didn't really say a lot during the conversation. He just listened, provided slight feedback, and then she went on to talk about how no matter how she behaved, no matter how she acted, no matter what was going on, no matter if the family was in crisis, her husband was unshakable. He was always consistent. He was always a rock. She called him like her 6'1" anxiety pill. That's what she called him. He was always a rock and consistent and unshakable and always knew and had a plan. And I'm telling you that story because the men born between 1975 and 2000, and we can fudge the numbers here for a year here and there, we are not made that way in general. So a lot of times when our women are having interactions with us, whether they're positive or negative, especially when you get into arguments or there's chaos, you will oftentimes see your man behave almost like you. And there's a reason for that. Now, this is where this is where I always call for grace and mercy. You know, grace is something that's rooted in undeserved kindness. Each one of us, from time to time in our life, could use kindness and favor that we didn't deserve. Mercy is built on compassion, you know, and it's a response to someone who's suffering, who needs help, or somebody who needs a second chance. Grace and mercy.